Welcome back to the Secret Sunday session, and thank you so much for joining us today, everyone out there who is listening. Today, I'm joined by Sarah Adele. Welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us on the potty today.
Oh, thanks. It's great to be here.
Now, I'm thrilled to have you on today because we're tapping into an area that I don't know a lot about, and that is obviously somatics. Obviously, you working in this space as a somatics educator and a business coach. I'm really intrigued in how your line of work, one, came about and how you became interested in it, but also how this can be really effective and helpful for people. So, with no further ado, we've done a little brief intro, but for those people that are not aware of who you are and what you do with yourself, who is Sarah and what does she find herself doing these days?
I love that. So, I am a mum of three beautiful kids, and I've got a gorgeous husband. I live on the Mornington Peninsula, and my background was actually I was a professional dancer back in the day. And then, as a lot of professional dancers do, they evolve into teaching Pilates and yoga and having dance studios. So, I went down that route and I had Pilates and yoga and dance studios for a really long time. And yeah, had a big life experience actually that put me in a position of, do I fight or do I surrender? I was selling one of my businesses and the sale fell through, and it was a big, kick in the guts, down on the floor in a fetal position type moment.
Yep, we've all had one of them. Yep.
We've all had, I know, when it first happened to me, I was like, oh, poor me, poor me. And it was so interesting. And then you talk to people and then they're like, oh, yeah, I have had that. And I've had that. And it was more like, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
And now you're a true entrepreneur, and now your breakthrough will happen. It's like, that's it, isn't it? And as we all have experienced, what feels absolutely gut-wrenching at the time often leads us in a new direction, and often a direction that we're actually meant to be. So now I guess it's hard to describe what you do in a box, but I describe myself as a somatic educator and a business mentor. And for those of people that don't know what somatics is, because it is a bit of a buzzword at the moment and there's so many people just jumping on it, so you have every right to be confused because you're like, people are saying this and this and this and what. But really, somatics, soma just means body. So if you think of the body, first and foremost, that's where somatics has come from. But essentially, I guess a simple way to think of it is we're using the body to become aware of what's actually going on for us emotionally as well. So rather than just thinking of our emotions and we think of our mind and we do talk therapy and we think of our mind when it comes to our emotions, somatics is bringing us back into our body to consider our emotions. And I use an interesting, I guess, analogy to explain it. You know, if we think of the primal instinctual behavior of us as humans, we are essentially animals, and we have got that primal instinct, haven't we? So think about what happens so I guess there's top-down therapy, which you would know a lot about, working from the mind down to the body. And then there's also bottom-up therapy, as you will also maybe know about, working from the body up to the mind. And if we think of when trauma imprints, it's first through the body, isn't it? We feel it. It's like, whoa. And with somatics, if we think of there's a burglar in the house. So what's our first initial instinct? It's like, and then we're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. And then we think, what am I going to do? So that's bottom up. It's like, feel, I'm scared, think. This is what we generally do. The equivalent of working from the mind down to the body, and there's no better way, but I just explain it like this, is we're sitting here and we go, I think there's a burglar in the house. Soon I might get scared. Can you see how it sort of feels the wrong way around?
Yeah.
So again, not telling anyone not to do top-down therapy at all, but just to give us a bit of awareness of like, oh yeah, wow, I do feel that in the body first. So we can't dismiss the body when it comes to true healing.
It's fascinating work, and I feel the more I dive into it and start to understand it, the mind and body are so powerful, and the connection between the two, I feel, is even more powerful. And I feel that in modern society, we're giving more space and time to really try and understand it. But I feel sometimes we may be falling short in the sense that, as we just spoke about, there are so many buzzwords around these new trendy health words that we're throwing about. Do you think that we're actually understanding what these words mean and how we should actually be, having daily practices with our mind and our body rather than just jumping on a hype and saying that we're all about health? Do you think that we're still falling short in that avenue?
Oh, beautiful statement or question. Absolutely. And even, see, this is the perspective I come from. Even if it's, you're saying, do we understand it? And I'm like, no, we don't understand it, because ideally we feel it. We feel it for ourselves. And that's what so many of us are doing. We're trying to comprehend it. But with true somatics and the somatics I do, you feel it. So it's feeling it. And I'll give you an example in a moment that will be great for the listeners. But I touched on when I had that business, like, oh God, what do you call it? Trauma. It was definitely trauma. And it was so interesting because I work in somatics, and there I was in a fetal position on the floor. And this is in terms of you talking about the mind and body are absolutely connected, which they are. But I was in a fetal position on the floor. And then when I spoke of just surrendering this business and surrendering lots of money in my bank account and just like surrendering 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears, my body was upright and like proud and happy. And then when I talked about holding on and fighting, my body was in a contracted position, just as in, no, don't do it. And I'm like, I'm going to surrender. And my body, I could sit up straight and I could talk and I was fine. And then I got into my logical mind, that doesn't make sense. I can't do that. And I'd be back into a fetal position. So it was like my body was saying yes to surrender, but no to like the logical thing to do. And what I get from that was, it was in that moment that yes, the mind and body are connected, but I realized they don't always agree, because it was like, my body was like, yes, let it go. You'll be fine. And my body was like, you cannot do that. You are crazy. What are you thinking? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
But my body was upright and fine. And then when I was thinking, well, no, I'll do the logical thing, I was literally in a fetal position and my body was like, don't do that. You know, it's not the right thing. But my mind was like, yes, that's exactly what you need to do. So yes, the mind and body, see, because it's so important that we come from this perspective, because otherwise people will, I just feel like it can lead them down into a wrong direction as well, because I'm like, well, no, this is my body feels like this. That means my mind's like this. My mind feels like this. It's like, no. Yes, they're connected, but it doesn't mean they always agree. And we are so disconnected. We're filled with information. We're filled with buzzwords, but we have never been more disconnected from our bodies than ever before. So a good example for your listeners in terms of somatics, let's think of somatics in terms of becoming aware of the emotions within our physical body. For the listeners, try to feel angry, and even do it for you yourself now. Feel angry.
I'm only laughing because I'm thinking of someone.
Yeah. Relax your jaw, but feel angry. But soften your shoulders. But feel angry. Soften your cheeks. Relax your face. But feel angry. Soften your torso. I can feel the tension in your torso. But feel angry. Relax your jaw. Relax your jaw. But feel angry.
It's really hard.
Exactly. And so do you see how, like, to feel angry, it's like you want to clench and you want to resist and you want to tense. So it's just a really simple entry-level way to remind us that we can't really experience an emotion without a physiological response within our body. Do you feel that? You wanted to feel angry. You wanted to, and even when we're talking of our nervous system and, going down into, freeze or fawn responses, there's still that deep, innate, unconscious tension that we're not aware of. But our body definitely responds to our emotions. So when people go, I don't believe in that, my shoulder pain's got nothing to do with that suppressed emotion. It's like, well, Well, I couldn't feel angry without tensing.
It's so fascinating. And I just reflect on my life. And I think so many times that I've come to decisions where I feel like it's this disagreement between my mind and my body, and I don't know who to believe. And I think that's then my question to you is, how do you know which one, the mind or the body, which ones, when you say, one's not right, one's not wrong, how do you know which one to follow?
Yeah, I love that. Well, in my case, it was really easy because, actually, it wasn't easy. It was actually the hardest decision of my life. But for me, my body was in a literal upright position. I could function, and it was undeniable that it felt right. And I also did have my husband and my best friend there with me. And it was actually my best friend that said, "Can you see what you're doing?" Because I was literally in a fetal position. She's like, every time you talk about letting go, you can sit up and talk to us. Every time you hold on, you're in a fetal position. So it was actually her. So I guess body language is an amazing thing. So if you do have, people around you to help you notice what's actually going on, this is going to be challenging in terms of not getting too deep, but really it's always about who will, what you always know deep down what you want to do. Like it'll feel good, you'll feel light within your body, there'll be like, it'll just feel like it feels good, feels light. There's definitely the hesitation and the fear, but maybe if we think of, am I doing it for me?
Mm.
Is it right for me? Because when we are considering, it's always like, oh, I'll do that because that will make my mum and dad happy, or I'll do that because that's what I should do, or I'll do that because that's what I've always done. So
Mm.
it's all, you want to consider, how does it feel in your body? But then I guess, yeah, you can't just go follow the body and then follow the mind. It's not that simple. It is a matter of inquiry and introspection and delving a little bit deeper. Like, we don't want to make it sound confusing, but I mean, it's even, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all of our conditioning and our limiting beliefs and adopted identities. So it's, yeah, I think the best thing that we can do is start to get to know our bodies again, get to know ourselves again, because that's developing trust in yourself.
Mm.
So when essentially develop that trust, choices and decisions are easier to make. But it would be very hard to make that gut instinctual decision if you're disconnected from your body, like so many of us are in this day and age.
Mm. It is. And disconnection, as we mentioned, is such in the forefront of our brains. And I think that sometimes that we're blindsided by it because we're convincing ourselves that we are connected more than ever. But it's in a form that we're not used to. I mean, we can say that we're used to it, but in a time frame, we have advanced our technology so quickly that I don't think we're even able to process how fast we have advanced as not only a species, but what we're consuming. And no normal being would be able to process that at the rapid rate that not only are we trying to process what has been invented and that is now part of our daily norms, but what is coming and the new things that we have to learn. It's like the minute we learn something, okay, move on, there's something else that's new. And so we're never able to sit and to actually enjoy what we've got because there's always something new coming. And I feel that that's where, as you said, disconnection comes in because we're almost always told to keep on the alert and to keep running and to keep growing and learning. And for you, when you look at the idea of disconnection, what does that mean to you and what impact do you think that it's happening on the generation that we're seeing today?
Oh, awesome. People so when I had my Pilates and yoga and dance studios, or let's focus on the Pilates and yoga, for example, I would be in my Pilates studio and these people were so highly strung and they're like, yes, I want a six pack. Yes, I want to feel the burn. Yes, pick, pick, pick. I've done my Pilates, tick. They were ignoring what their body needed. And I would say to them, maybe come over to my yoga studio and, let's do a beautiful yin or shavasana. No, I'm not a yogi. I don't do that. And then the people in yoga, and I could see they needed true connection, to their core, and they needed, oh no, I'm a yogi, I don't do Pilates. And I just saw how much we resisted what it is our body needs. And my philosophy upcoming book is called Sacred Union, and it's rekindling the relationship between you and your body to unlock your healing and liberation empowerment. Because, and there's all little letters from the body. The body's talking to you, hey, checking in. Because if you think about it, come on, body, we're going to the gym. Come on, body, we're doing Pilates. Come on, body, we're doing yoga. We're telling our bodies what to do all the time. So people are really, really good at exercise, but they don't know how to be. And when I first work with a client, they'll be laying on the floor, and I just ask them to bend their knees and just lay there, and their body will be in a protective clutch and their shoulders will have tension, and I'll say, how are you feeling? And they'll go, yeah, I feel really good. I feel great. I feel relaxed. Meanwhile, to the listeners, I've got my shoulders up to my ears and I'm like this. So, and they think that they're relaxed. And that's what I always say. Our perception of comfort has become distorted because we are so used to being stressed. So we're completely disconnected from what's happening in our body, but we're proud of ourselves because tick, tick, tick. I went to Pilates every day this week. Tick, tick, tick. I went to yoga. They didn't really necessarily consider what their body needed. And it's so fascinating in terms of mental health and nervous system. So there's a really intriguing muscle called your psoas. Do you know much? Have you heard much about your psoas?
No.
Oh, it's fascinating. So it's spelled PSOAS. And from a physical perspective, your psoas, it starts in your sort of upper to mid back, comes down in like really close to your spine and wraps around and inserts into the front of your hip. So it stabilizes your spine and lifts your legs up and down. It's a hip flexor. But from a primal perspective, whenever we're stressed or anxious or worried or in danger, our psoas contracts. And it's, think of our pelvis. So it contracts our pelvis. It tucks our pelvis into this contracted protective position. So this is what I make people aware of when I first work with them, because they're laying down on the ground, their body's doing this on high alert. And in their mind, they're going, yeah, I feel really good. Have a great day. The words coming out of their mouth is a complete contradiction to what's happening within their body, but they've got no idea. So that's the disconnection I'm talking about. And the interesting is I've got a beautiful little simple process I do, and I'll guide them out of this protective clutch. And people say, oh, I don't like that. That's really unnatural. I don't like that. I'm like, okay, go back to where you're comfortable. And they'll pull back into a protective clutch.
Wow. And
this is titration. We need to do little bits at a time. And then sometimes it takes 5 minutes, sometimes it takes 10. Finally get them settled into a more neutral, natural position away from a protective clutch. And then I'll say, let's go back to your old friend, which in the process we do, I call 12 o'clock. Let's go back to your old friend 12 o'clock and see how, and they're like, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that. So I'm like, yeah, you were. And I have to take pictures now, because what I'm helping people do is become conscious of what they're doing unconsciously within their body. They're so disconnected from what's actually happening within their bodies because they've been exercising and they've been telling their bodies what to do, but they haven't really necessarily checked in with their bodies beyond exercise. Just to, how are you? Just that state of being. Where is home for your body?
That is so important. And listening to you say that, we live in such a culture that tells us, though, you need to get your body out of bed every day. You need to move it. You need to exercise X amount. You need to eat Y amount. You need to be able to be flexible, and you need to be able to do strength training and all of this. We're constantly being told what to do, that it's almost in saying that, it's like you're going against the grain or going against what medical advice is supposedly recommending to us. And so how is a person supposed to ditch what we're seeing as medical recommendation and tune in and listen to their body?
It is. It's about building trust. And you know how, like with all the buzzwords and all the somatic stuff that's happening these days, and everyone's out there saying, tune into your body, tune into your body. And I'm like, that's cool. But how do they, trust your body, trust your body. I'm like, how do they trust something they don't know?
Yeah.
This is what I'm witnessing so often. People know how to exercise. They know how to lift 100 kilos. They know how to do a HIIT class. They know how to exercise, but they don't know that they're holding on to unconscious tension within their body. They don't know what their true core is. They don't know where true alignment is. It's all the unsexy foundational stuff that they've lost touch with. They can
Mm.
do, and even breath. This
Mm.
is crazy. Because we're in that unconscious clutch, we're actually preventing our natural breath function. Ideally, as we breathe, our diaphragm compresses, our belly rises, and our pelvic floor relaxes. And then as you exhale, your diaphragm lifts, your deep abdominals reconnect, and your pelvic floor returns to its natural state. It's a natural function, just like our heart beats all day, every day. We don't need to tell it to do that. Just like our lungs expand and contract every day, we don't need them to tell them to do it. It happens. Our breath is the same. However, because of this stress response, it's not able to function the way it should. But people are out there doing breath work and all of these techniques, and that's fantastic. But what I witness is they're preventing their natural innate breath. So do you see what I mean? It's like,
Mm.
I didn't want to learn how to breathe. I want to breathe. I want to go and do that beautiful, cool retreat where everyone's screaming. That seems better.
Mm.
I'm not interested. I want to breathe because they think they do. Do you see what I mean? It's like we're getting lost to the allure of these fancy things, and it's a little scary. Some are great, but it is scary as well in terms of, I guess some people feel that to release emotion, it has to be really traumatic and lots of screaming and, which can be good too. I don't want to, but it's like, you can actually just release emotion as well through a few simple words, or it doesn't need to be. I just don't want people to feel that somatics or emotional release has to be that traumatic.
I completely agree in the terms of you finding what works for you and you finding, as you said, what your body's home is, what its homeostasis is. And so often we're consuming content that's telling us what that is. And in
And
doing that,
again, mind, I'm there, but it's like, can you feel it? And can you tangibly see it?
and experience it, I think is a beautiful thing as well in sitting in
Definitely.
that. But do you feel that because, health is now trendy and it's something that we all should be doing, and if we're not healthy or getting up at 6 a.m. and going for a run, it's the new hype and the buzz. And whilst the medical system would see this as a great new turnaround for our generation, do you feel that it's almost running away from the fact that if we were to really sit with ourselves and give ourselves the time, that scares the shit out of people?
Oh, absolutely. I love that you said that. It is. It's avoidance. I'm not going to sit and be. I'm going to go and run. I'm
Mm.
not going to sit and be. I'm going to go and do yoga. I'm going to go. It is absolutely that.
Mm.
Yeah. I love that. You said that.
What do you think people, based on, your experience, what are we running from? Obviously, like different experiences are going to bring up different things, but innate as us as humans, with all this culture of like running and ticking boxes and being part of trends, what do you see as a generalized thing that us as humans are running from?
Well, I guess our true selves without sounding cliche. Like we're running towards all we think we should be, and we're avoiding who we truly are. And yeah, I really feel that, yeah, I mean, it's like I'm running towards what I think I should do. I'm running towards who I think I should be. And yeah, so from that perspective, we're running towards what we think we should do and be, and we're avoiding who we truly are, which is where it's beautiful when people choose to do personal development or somatic work. We are returning to who we truly are.
Mm.
But I guess the resistance to be is also because we suppress so many emotions. It is actually really quite confronting for a lot of us to be still, because we're like a boiling pot and we need to explode. So there's that place of stillness. I don't feel very comfortable there. And this is the thing, even with yoga or different, again, this is getting told what to do, whereas your body doesn't feel comfortable there. And I love yoga. I've been a yoga teacher for 20 years. However, when people go into a practice without the awareness, they can do whatever they need to do. And even if they were told you can do whatever you wanted to do, if everyone's lying down there, does someone want to get up and move around?
Mm.
No, they want to get down and do what everyone else is doing. So for many people, when it comes to Shavasana, laying down, being still is actually so uncomfortable, and their body doesn't want to do that. So ideally, they would follow their natural innate feeling of standing up and moving and shaking or doing whatever, but I can't do that. I'm meant to be lying down. I'm meant to be still. So I guess a good example of this is when I used to have studios in Gippsland in Victoria, and when I opened a new studio on the Mornington Peninsula, so it was new clients and they didn't really know me that well, and it was in between, it was a reformer class, and it was in between exercises. And I remember saying to them, just move intuitively, just let your body do whatever it needs to do. And they looked at me. It was as if I had asked them to strip naked, because they were like, what do you mean? What do you want me to do? What? Well, I can't move unless you tell me to move. What do you want me to do? This is what's happening to us. We don't know what to do without instruction. We're losing that innate. It's like, I know what to do if you tell me to do. And even think of stretching. I'm going to stretch. We do what we've been told. We do what we've been taught. Oh, I need to do a hip stretch. I'll do this stretch. I got taught this in year 7 at school. This is what I'll do. There's so much doing what we're told, standard, regulated shapes or movements, which isn't bad. But what if you were to actually just become curious and discover and experiment and explore what it is that your body wants? And what happens is, when you actually work intuitively, the reason we don't really like it is because we have to remove our inhibitions. And often we find, like, if I was to really release my neck the way I wanted to, it wouldn't be a stand stretch. It would be like a weird position. And for a lot of people that I can't do, oh my God, that's weird, I can't do that. So that's it. It's inhibitions getting in our way, comparison, expectation, judgment. It's all of that. Think of babies. That's a perfect example, isn't it? They're not scared if they have their tantrum in the middle of the supermarket. They're free from comparison, expectations, inhibitions, judgment. And we are innately all like that. But we've just lost touch with that.
And it's, as you said, finding a way to come back. And I think you nailed it perfectly in that terms of just be curious. I think we put this pressure on ourselves to, then we've got to find it, and then we've got to find ourselves and find our home and find what health means to us. And a lot of us don't know where to start, but sometimes just starting is just having stripped the expectations, just be curious and sit in the stillness. And as you said, that is so hard for people in a culture when we're told the opposite. And we're told the opposite in a way that it's not, you need to be busy, but it's innate in us as culture, is if you're not busy, you're not thriving or you're not succeeding. And I think that's hard for people to come to terms with, because there's this idea of success. And if you don't have success, then you're failing. And it's one of the biggest fears of most of us in society, is if we're failing, we're nothing, we're unworthy, we're unvaluable, we're unlovable. And there's this real pendulum of, like, you've got to sit in between one or the other. And it's finding, as you said, that middle ground that really suits you. And it's really powerful stuff. And I guess I'm curious to know, you in your journey, and where obviously where you are now, you're quite aware, you understand your home and your environment. But for you, how did it get to this point? Like, at what stage did you realize that you had to be curious, and that you not even had to, but wanted to, and took the measures in order to be curious about your body? Like, where were you at, and why did it lead you down this path?
Oh, there's so many different ways that something, before we go into that, I'll go into that in a second. You know how you were saying, it's like, what do we do? It's like too much this way, too much that way. Where is just enough? That's actually part of my philosophy. It's so interesting, because when we find alignment within our body, because even think of it, if we're sitting here at the office chair and we're slumped down and it's not enough. Like, we're slumped, and then we go, oh shit, I need to fix my posture. So we go boom, and we sit up really tall, but we overdo it. So we move into too much. And then that's not sustainable. So then we revert back to slumping, which is not enough. And then we go, shit, I need to fix my posture. So we go too much. And then we go back to not enough. So it's that pendulum, as you mentioned, between not enough and too much. And this is the interesting thing somatically with that, what you're talking about. When I work with people and guide them to find their optimal alignment, which is just enough, they go, but I'm not doing anything. And they're so uncomfortable just being in the ease of alignment, just where they're meant to be. But I should be doing something. I should be, that's it. You're there. No. People are so uncomfortable there. So that's why I always like to say, if we can find it within our body first, then we can find it in our life. But just as you said, I had to mention that because it's so fascinating. People with the body, we aren't comfortable in just enough. We're on that pendulum between not enough, too much, not enough, too much. And when we find just enough, it's very scary and uncomfortable because we are in this society when it's just too much.
It's like we want the chaos. It's like we're striving for that stress. If we don't have stress, we're not, quote unquote, living.
Well, it's become our comfort zone. We don't know who we are without it. But I guess the body stuff, back when I used to be a professional dancer, when I lived on the Gold Coast, it was I was in different stage shows and things. It was great. The casino there used to have big stage shows like Cirque du Soleil type thing. And when you're an entertainer, you can work at Warner Brothers Movie World. It's like, you know how actors, they are a waitress in between contracts or whatever. It's like that. So Warner Brothers Movie World was a great place to work for entertainers because you could get a movie contract and go for a year and then come back. And it was a great place to. It was really fun. Anyway, I was a dancer and Wonder Woman out there and all the different characters. And I'll never forget being Wonder Woman. So I had the 6-pack, I had the 8-pack. I could kick my legs up over my head all day, every day. My body was the perfect body. And then I'd walk into my green room to get changed. I couldn't even bend over and take off my boots because my lower back was so sore. And then I'm like, I've got a strong core. I've got a 6-pack. I've got a strong core. And it was like, oh, okay, well, I mustn't have a strong core. So that was the first path of curiosity, to discover more than what we've been told. I've got a strong, that's what I've been told. I've got a 6-pack. So to discover that. And then honestly, the best, like I've been studying and like I've got so much education behind me, but honestly, the best uncoverings and finding were being curious and observing clients. It's been 25 years of witnessing bodies. And I guess that's what my specialty is. Witnessing do what they think they should do, and at the same time observing what it was that they truly need. And I used to think it was such a bad thing. I'm like, what's wrong with me? God, I'm so critical. They're doing this, but they need to do this and this and this. But that's it. I could see they were focusing what they needed to do, but they were ignoring what their body actually needed. But I look from the perspective of your body. And I'd be witnessing other people and they were so proud of themselves because they were hurting and they were burning and they were puffing. Meanwhile, their body, and I felt like I feel like I'm the body whisperer because I'm like, your body is begging you to stop. But they don't care because I'm in a challenge. And if I do this, I'm going to get rewarded. And they're completely ignoring what's going on within their body because they want that big tick on the board to say, I've done it. So I think that's definitely, I used to think it was such a bias. I'm like, Sarah, stop being so critical. Sarah, just let them go. But then I realized it's actually my calling. I'm helping people listen to what their body's trying to tell them.
What do you think's there for people when we talk about reaching that tick or reaching that point of success or achievement? Why are we striving for that? What do you think is at that end that people are striving for or searching for? Like, why are we wanting to get to this point? Like, what is there? What is that feeling for people that we crave it?
Oh, absolutely. It's the recognition, it's the external success. It's we feel like that's, the end goal. And I guess what you definitely, and I guess I don't know how many of your listeners have, experienced burnout or whatever it is, but, as you know, that's what you get to. You're like, oh my God, yes, we're reaching for this external success. And we want everyone to know that we're successful because it's really never about us. If it was about us, I feel like we would it is. It's keeping up with societal pressures and expectations of what we think we should do. And we want other people to acknowledge how good we are because we don't believe it in ourselves. And I guess that's the beautiful thing as you mature and you really don't give a shit about what anyone else thinks, but then and you wish that you could just pass that on straight away to your children and to younger people. We do need to go through that cycle of of growth, because it's like we find that external success, but internally often so many of us are broken. And that's what I used to have, that external success, but on the inside I just felt and I guess it's a facade for a lot of us as well. Maybe again, as you mentioned, it's avoiding how we really feel. Tick, I'm doing well over there, I can ignore what's going on down here.
Yeah, it is. It's very much a cycle, and I feel you can't push people into starting their own discovery of what their home looks like. You kind of have to sit on the back foot and allow them to explore that and that curiosity when they're ready. Before I jump into the final two questions with our little hindsight segment, I do want to ask one thing because it's been on my mind throughout the podcast, that manifestation has been a big thing. It's become I think a readily used practice for a lot of people around, writing out what you want and then embodying it, finding it, attracting it, that whole energy transition between what you want, where you put your energy, it goes. I'm really interested, based on our conversation between the mind-body connection, that to me, manifestation is very much a mind practice in terms of like logic and thinking about what you want without probably much consideration to your body and how it feels around the things that you are manifesting. So based on, as I said, what we've sort of talked about, what is actually your thoughts and opinions on manifestation, and is it something we should be investing in?
Oh, I love that. Well, first of all, I often ask clients, are you a good manifester? And I go, oh, no, I'm not good at manifest, because we always think manifestation is millions of dollars or private jets or whatever it is. It's always so big. And then I'll ask them, well, have you been on a holiday? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, did you have the idea of the holiday? And they said, yes. And I'm like, and then did you start to Google and be curious and explore where you wanted to go? And like, yes. I'm like, and then did you book the tickets? And they said, yes. And I'm like, and then did you go on the holiday? I'm like, yes. I'm like, well, you're a great manifester because you manifested that from an idea into action. But yes, you are absolutely right. I always use this example that I want to be a best-selling author. So I've got 2 books that I'll release when the time is right. But I always say I want to manifest being a best-selling author. And so for the listeners, I am sitting here in an Om position, meditating in my mind, saying, I am going to be a best-selling author. I am going to be a best-selling author. I am going to be a best-selling author. But that's not really going to get me anywhere, is it? Because manifestation for me is 3 parts. First, what's my desire? So my desire is I want to be a best-selling author. But then who do I have to be and what do I have to do in order to make that happen? So I take my hands out of my Om meditation position and place them onto a typewriter. I need to take action. We need to take action towards bringing this desire to life. So you do. So we can't manifest in the mind alone. We need to take inspired action in order to bring that vision to life. So who do I have to be? I have got to be someone that wakes up in the morning at 5 a.m. and does an hour of writing before my family gets up. I need to be someone that is resilient and pushes through every session where I think this is crap, no one wants to listen to it. What do I have to do? I have to take action. So it really is about, taking inspired action to bring your vision to life. And in that, like with manifestation, I feel like a really important part of that is the surrender. And as we wrap this up, a really quick story. You heard me talk on that business sale falling through. So I was in the fetal position. My husband was like, we've got to get out of the house. I hadn't moved for a week. And we stumbled across this life path. We went to this Boho Lux festival and we stumbled upon this life path reading. And I got nothing to lose. I don't really like to go into psychics or anything, but I'm like, hit me with it. Tell
Have
me,
at it. Yeah.
what do I do? And this woman just sat there and she had her eyes closed and she just sat there. And I thought, well, I've been ripped off big time. And then I was thinking, has she fallen asleep? Oh my God, what's going on? And then I was literally, I think it was about 5 minutes. I was literally about to get up and walk away. I was like, and then this woman just opened her eyes. And this was after my week of contemplation. Do I fight? Do I surrender? Do I fight? Do I surrender? She just looked at me and she goes, you've just got to let it go. You've just got to surrender, trust, and let time do its thing. And I was like, ooh, because teaching in yoga, in every class, I say surrender, trust, and let time do its thing. I was like, holy shit, it is time to walk my talk. So that night I made the decision. I surrendered 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears. And I trusted that there was something better out there waiting for me. And I let time do its thing, which essentially was manifesting. But I think surrender doesn't mean lying there and doing nothing. Just like manifesting doesn't mean just thinking about it. Surrender means releasing the attachment to the outcome whilst taking inspired action towards where it is that you truly want to go. And then now, like I'm literally sitting here talking to you, the vision in my head, I used to visualize being free from studios and timetables and just being able to write and look at the ocean. I'm here living it. I am here experiencing what I manifested all those days ago and years ago. And I swear it's actually what I visioned in my head. I feel like it's exactly this house, this view, this everything. It's trippy, but it was a lot of surrender, heartache, challenge, but trust and letting time do its thing. So manifestation is possible. I am sitting here living it, but it does require inspired action.
That is so great. And I think it's so pivotal to mention that aspect of manifestation because so often we get caught in the first step of just writing it all down and letting it come to us when reality is we need to do that inspired action. So I'm so grateful that you mentioned that because I am definitely on the same page. And it's so glad to hear someone else say it. And it's just such an important work that I feel, and it's evident, as you said, in your life that you're now witnessing it and living it. And I'm so happy and excited for you that it's led you to this path. And we will now head to the two hindsight questions. These are just random questions, as I mentioned, that I have piled together over last season that I'd sometimes just forgot to ask people that I thought could have been cool, could have been good.
Oh, I love
and when
that.
I get deep into the story, I often forget about so many other things I could ask. So let's leave it to the bag. And then the first question is, oh, if I have it right the round way. Jeez. How do you ensure you're supporting the health of your mental and physical state every day?
Well, I think it's in the little things. It's again, it's not in the new class or the new modality or the new trend, or it really is the simple things. So for me, it is obviously sleep. Like sleep, I know that if I like my 8-year-old comes up to me and says, "Good night, mummy," because I have to go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Like that's me. If I go to bed late, I'm an absolute unit.
Don't worry, I'm the same. 8:30, eyes are shut, lights are out.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, it's just the simple things: sleep, like good nutrition, and yeah, even alcohol. I used to love a glass of champagne, but even this year, it's just like I'm done because I just know that it just does not work with me, especially. And it's like, oh, I've got so many friends and colleagues. It's like, I need to drink. I've got anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, stop drinking. Your anxiety will go away. You just want to scream. But yeah, for me, it's just the simple things, just, yeah, sleep, movement. Yeah. But
It's like
again,
meeting your
exercise,
baseline.
movement. Think of the blue zones, like just,
The incidental exercise, not this planned,
yes.
rigid exercise that we're
No.
told to do.
Yes. And when I work with people, I do work with people that haven't exercised, and they're always the ones that respond best, and they have the best results because they're not unlearning a lot of stuff. So I just go walking, and their bodies are often in a lot better shape than those that have been doing what they've been told by exercise culture for so long.
No, I love that. So, and I love the blue zones. If anyone has time
Oh,
to watch documentaries, read books,
yes.
I think it's so fascinating. And it's honestly, it's everything we're sold not to do, but it's working for these people. If we're looking at like sustainability, consistency, and living a fulfilled and long life, our answers are there. It's not sold to us on TV like in a commercial.
Well, and that's it, because it's free. It doesn't cost any money. The gyms aren't going to get money because you're not going to have membership there. It's so simple, but it's not really giving money to any industry, is it?
No, it's all marketing. Alrighty, number 2. What has been your anchor through any life struggles that you have come across?
Or trust.
In just a trust in sort of your path and how it's going to be mapped out, or a specific person or a specific practice?
Yeah, myself. Trust in myself, and that I am always supported, and without sounding woo woo or anything. It's just, and again, that trust is really hard to build. So we can't just say trust. You trust. Well, trust is the one thing, as we were talking about disconnection earlier in the podcast, that when I first work with people, we do this beautiful process, and trust is what they really want. But it's so interesting, they even forget the word. It's like, what is that? What is that feeling? If you feel like that, what is that? And it's so obvious that it's trust. They want to feel trust, but it is so moved away from their consciousness that they forget it. But what again, through lived experience, because again, this is the somatics, you can't just trust. You need to have lived experience in order for you to feel confident that you can trust. So even little things, as I'm sitting here now in this beautiful house overlooking the bay, there'd be times where, we were in a different house and then we had to move, and I'd be like, no, I wanted to stay here forever. I don't want to move. And then it was like, oh, it's going to be a big stretch. And then I'm like, oh, we trusted and we moved and we up leveled. And then it was like, oh, and then new experiences, new opportunities all happened. And then I actually shared a reel I think a while back, but it was this house that I never wanted to leave. And I'm like, I wanted to be there forever. And now I drive back past it and go, oh my God, that was so wrong for us. It wouldn't have been right. And then it happened again. I'm like, I don't want to leave this house. It's perfect. I want to live here forever. And then it was like, no, we've got to move. It's like, oh, and then move. And so having the lived experience that the challenges arise, but it really is happening for you, not to you. And it's, again, the surrender. Trust and let time sing. Okay, this has happened, but if I continue taking inspired action to where it is that I want to be and what I want to do, it will be okay. But yeah, that we can't just say that, but it is just, even if you can look back, for your listeners, if you can look back at a situation that happened, even that boyfriend when you were in high school and you thought he was the love of your life, but if you look back and go, oh yeah, no, that's good, I'm glad that didn't work out. We've all got that. We've got to remember those things, that it really is, I hate sounding cliche, but it doesn't feel cliche for me because I have lived it, that those challenges really are happening for us. And it's horrible, especially with, the challenges that we've all experienced in life and that have happened to us and our family and things. It's hard to find a silver lining, but often it's even, it's set you on a new path to ensure that doesn't happen to someone else, or it's set, it's instilling something positive within us, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And perspective, I think, can go a long way if you make time to find it and utilize it in your life. Thank you so much for jumping on today, Sarah. I feel extremely grateful to have had this conversation with you and be able to share it with our listeners. I know I have learnt so much, and I'm really taking away that inspired action in terms of the manifestation, as well as all the sort of the little things that you mentioned in terms of exercise and in terms of even just finding your home and your place and learning to tune in and listen to your body in the stillness and figuring out how to be okay with that being enough for you. Very, very powerful. Thank you so much for jumping on today. Thank you as well, everyone else that out there, to our listeners, for tuning in for another episode. If people want to follow you, if they want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram's my favorite place to be. I love Instagram. I've met so many amazing people there. So yeah, Instagram's definitely the place to find me.
Incredible. Once again, thank you so much. And thank you as well, everyone else, for listening. We will catch you guys all again very soon.